Make our screen nice and big. Okay, so welcome to Live at Lunch. Today's session is about tips for engaging effectively in online webinars and fun Deskercise. So we're combining two things today in today's session. And webinars are combination. We come up with new technology. We actually start to have new terminology or new words. And so a webinar is a combination of two words. And in fact, I've been struggling for many years as to what to call something like this live event, the webinar, because it has so many people call it different names. And it seems to have gradually over time come to this word. But by all means, it's not the only word. So it could have been a virtual classroom, a virtual meeting room. So webinars is sort of one. So it comes from two words, web being the World Wide Web, and then seminars. And so brought those two together. So we have this word called a webinar. And I think what we'll find is it's in dictionaries now. I must admit I haven't looked, but our vocabulary is always evolving. We have a living language, and this is part of it. It's a part of that. And then the Deskercise is fun exercise that we can do at your desk at any time. So I've got a little example of one there on the right-hand side, but we'll play with those at the end. Right. Now, depending on what technology or tool you're using to connect. Now, I've got some instructions here for if you're on a computer. Now, this may vary. I've just been talking to Pauline, who's using an iPad, and so there are some different instructions there, but they're sort of similar. I will gather together some instructions for iPads as well, and then gradually grow. There is a link that comes with your GoToMeeting that helps you prepare, so you can check that out as well. But basically, on a computer, you have an orange arrow that moves. You can press it to open it up, so you get that small. Let me try my little pointer here. So you either get a small panel or you get a bigger one that allows you to see more involved. So the orange arrow opens it up and then closes it. So it pushes it to the sides. If you want to see more of your screen, this can be handy. Okay, but then you may not be able to see the text chat. So that's up to you. And in fact, if you find you get disrupted by other people chatting, then that might be the way to go. Okay. The other thing that we have in the controls for GoToMeeting, and this is the virtual room we're using as a GoToMeeting. There's all sorts of platforms. This one has, not only have you got the orange arrow, but you've also got these little arrows that have got heads in these grey headings. So if you press on those, it opens up a menu and you can see what's there. And you can have them all pointing to the right so that they disappear and you don't see all the detail. So there's a mix of how you can open and shut. So if you want to chat, you'd click on that one to make the arrow point downwards. I keep on getting these little pop-ups. So there are some ways that you can do it. And I believe too, I've not checked this one out, but I think if you use those squares on the right-hand side, they'll open up as a separate box. As I said before, different technology, different tools, you'll see things slightly different because there's more space on, say, a big desktop or a laptop as opposed to an iPad or an Android. For the text, you've got chat, and this is an automated message I've set up that comes up when you start coming into my room. And then you can type a message, and with the bottom arrow, and on an iPad, Pauline's just explained there's some little people. So you choose in the top right-hand corner, you can choose little people, and it can be an individual. You might do a private chat to the presenter or to everyone. So if everyone, you'd see this initial information. You type in here and then press send or enter. There's a button here that's got send, like a little paper aeroplane. That's another way. So there's always a few ways. Be careful when you're doing private text chat, because sometimes you can have this arrow not on the right setting and you could be sending a message that everyone sees. So I recommend to all participants to make sure that what you're writing is nice and not about, anything negative, because you might regret what you type. And in some webinar rooms, not this one, but in some webinar rooms, if you post in the private message, it comes up bright blue to the presenter. So well worth just being careful. It doesn't happen in most rooms, it doesn't, but I know in one that was the case. So you wouldn't want to be poo-pooing the presenter, because they'll be seeing it in bright big letters. Okay. Now, audio, the buttons, green for go means that you'll be on the mic and you'll see some lines showing you your connection, or you've got orange if you mute it. So you just basically click it. You can click it in the side little menu and mute yourself. And when it's muted, it has the line through it like you'd normally see for something not working. So, yeah. So, I mean, we can argue about whether the colour, but I think it's orange. Some people get quite, don't quite see colours the same way. Okay, so that's it. So that's most of the controls. So let's go into the first part of our session, which is tips for engaging effectively. So this is for you as a participant, getting the most out of an online webinar. Now, so these live events, they're happening more and more across the world, and they can be a part of distance education. They can be all sorts for social reasons. They could be for meetings. But so I'm talking about being a participant in these and giving you some tips. And it doesn't matter which sort of technology you're using, whichever sort of webinar room that's being offered. These are tips that are just generic tips that I'd like to share with you, so you get the most out of it. So firstly, I recommend that you log in 10 to 15 minutes earlier, set the alarm. So if your presentation was, say, like at LIVELunch at 12, that you'd aim to start moving in about 1:45 or 10 to. Now, this is because there's all sorts of reasons, but sometimes it's the software updates, and you might have practiced and done it lots of times, but then the room actually updates, which means your computer may have to load something extra, and that could take time. The other thing is bandwidth in rural and regional New South Wales and across Australia, and even sometimes in the bigger cities, connection can not be so flash, and it may take a while for it to come in. I personally find GoToMeeting relatively quick, but this is about every location. If you log in early, you can be there ready to go. In some rooms, you can type a message or press that you stepped away, or you just are waiting for the room to be open. So why not log in early, then go and grab yourself a cuppa or a drink of water or whatever you need, maybe get yourself ready for the session. So logging in early gets you connected. So I think that gets you feeling prepared and comfortable and ready to learn. The other thing to look out for is any pre-session preparation. Now, this will vary greatly. So for today, I didn't ask for any preparation. It was just to turn up. But it could be some presenters ask for you to do a reading beforehand, or it might be to fill out a little checkbox, because it's going to make the live chat more interactive. The other thing I like to do is to send out a handout that's got your potential for writing notes on. So that can be really useful to have that. Just makes it more, a more engaged session. So look out. So usually they come in, your presenter will, so if you've registered, they'll send you an email. If you've got a teacher who's, might be a focus on all sorts of, different topics, and it may be that the topic needs something prepared beforehand, but they can send it out via email. Some people might send it by text message. It might be in the forum or in some online website. So it's just being aware of how that presenter sends the information out. And, of course, if you're in a course, it's more detailed with what's going on. But I highly recommend it. Yesterday I was in a live session where it was all about values and reflecting on your values, and so there was a sheet to fill out about your values that we could then talk about in the session. So if you hadn't done the activity, well, still okay, but you weren't getting the most out of the session. So look out for those. Pen and paper, it doesn't matter how much technology we have, we still haven't let go the pen or the pencil and paper. And I highly recommend it to have it next to you. So I have a little notebook that I date. It's sort of a bit like a diary, but it's cross journal. But you might have it as just a notepad and pen, so that you can write in the notes. There might be a website that comes up. The session might jog an idea that you'd like to record. Even, like yesterday in the session, one of the participants said something that was just awesome. So I wrote that down, because she shared an acronym, and which was a funny one. So, writing that down can be useful, to refer to later. So the other thing to do, it's really easy in our very connected, distracted world for us to have lots of technology going on. So you could have your phone, so I encourage you to turn your phone off. Even with your desk, if you can keep it clear so that you're not thinking about, so say if you've got a few bills next to you on the table, that may get you, thinking about that. When you're in, or just a pile of notes, whatever, it's going to distract you. So if you've got a clear desk, the space and no other connections. I've actually also got a sign on my door that actually tells people that I'm not available and when I'll be finished. So I've got that I'll finish at 1 o'clock. So that's useful, so that people, could be knocking on the door, seeking you and not realising what you're doing. So that's another strategy you can use. So clearing those distractions just allows you to be focused. You may be paying for a course, it might even be a free course, but being connected and focused without distractions is a really useful thing. It also goes really well with the topic that I spoke about last week at the first Live at Lunch session, and that was deep work. And that's about learning to tune in into one area instead of being multitasked and distracted. It actually helps your brain work better, and it certainly helped me. And I'm one for lots of technology, so recommend that. Okay, the other thing is to drink water. Now, it could be a cup of tea or coffee, have a drink, but look, having a bottle of water that's in a container that's, just got that little pull-up little nozzle means that you're not likely to spill it on your computer. Having water helps your body and your brain keep hydrated. It avoids headaches. And, I'm recording this at the moment at winter time, and our heating can dry us out. So it's really handy to have water. And it actually is good for your breath too, I've discovered, because if you talk a lot, you end up, you can get bad breath. So water helps with that. Anyway, useful. If you're in a live event, another thing to think about too, and particularly if you're doing an evening sessions where you might, have a glass of wine or a beer or something like that, just be very aware of the influence of alcohol. So, if it's one glass, it's possibly okay. But just watch if you're typing in the chat or speaking that you're not being, you wouldn't want to be under the influence of alcohol or drugs in terms of things being recorded and, you're doing something inappropriate. It's just common sense. So I'm not saying that you don't drink alcohol, but just be aware of that you're in a situation where it's a public place, even though you're from home. So just be aware of that. But drinking water is what I encourage. The other thing to do is to relax. And I've just I've seen that word relax just made me take in a breath. So we might do that too. So you want to sit straight with your feet on the floor and legs uncrossed, and then just take in a big breath through your mouth and then breathe out through your nose. Sorry, saying it the wrong way. Breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth. And just relax. With webinars, can sometimes feel really stressful, and particularly if you're new at using this sort of technology. So just relax. Things can go wrong, but it's not the end of the world. You've got recordings that can be there, so if you miss out on it being live, then and it's important to relax and go with the flow. So hopefully you're in a space where you're feeling comfortable, but certainly, yeah, relax with it. It's a form of education. It can be entertainment. And yeah, just lay back. And strongly encourage you to ask questions when you're in a webinar if you've got the capacity to. Now, some virtual classrooms or rooms actually have. I've been in courses where you can ask questions to the presenter, but none of the other participants can see those questions. So I find those rooms not as effective for me as a learner. I really like to ask questions or see what other people are asking, because asking those questions could be just what someone else is thinking about too and wondering, but wasn't, game enough to ask. So I strongly encourage you to ask questions as you're going when you're in a live webinar. It's a great way to learn. Now, you will have the presenter may say, I'll take questions at the end, and that's when your pen and paper will be useful. Write down your questions as you go. It could be that they're quite happy for you to ask as they go. In some rooms, you can put your hand up by pressing a button, and then they can call on you. Or you might type in the text chat and ask the question there. And sometimes there can be two presenters presenting in a session, and so there's one presenter and someone helping answer the questions. That's fantastic. I strongly recommend two people in a live webinar event to facilitate. Makes it a much more effective time. So you can be asking via text. Even another participant might answer the question. You might say, when's that assignment due? And someone goes, straight away, and the presenter can keep talking then. But I really encourage you. I'm an adult educator. I've been a high school educator. I think questions are really an effective way to learn. So ask questions. And the other tip is P for patience. So we talked about relax earlier. The P is to be patient with, it could be your technology, in that it's not working, or and don't go get the sledgehammer out and smash your stuff. You want to be patient. As said earlier, sessions are recorded in most cases. You've also just by ramping up your stress and being stressed out about it, it's not going to help you, and you're the most important person. So P for patience will help you with your understanding and learning. The other thing to think about for patients is if there is presenter process, especially when they're on their own and you've typed a question in the text chat, you might need to give them time. It can be really challenging to present. Think about the topic that you're talking about and then dealing with questions at the same time. So with the text chat, it might be that you might need to copy and paste your text again, particularly if there's been a whole lot of rolling discussion from other people and you've been missed out. Or, there is a way that you can type in capitals, which is sort of a bit of a shout, but I wouldn't do that too often, but that could be an alert. And so just generally be patient. And maybe it's at the end of the session that particularly if you're in a course, that you might say, contact the presenter and say, look, I had this problem here. Is there any way you can help? They may not be able to help on the spot, but if there's a co-presenter and the main presenter, then the helper can assist. So that's a much more effective way. I'm flying solo today, but there's lots of times where it's fantastic if you can have a co-host. So that's it. P for patience. Joining in. When a host asks to join in they might want for a comment, or they might want something in a text chat, or someone take their mic, strongly encourage you to engage in it. Often there's polls and voting online. So last week at LIVELunch we had a go at polling, which was fun, and we could see the responses on the screen. So lots of ways that you can engage and join in. Of course, you can sit and just watch, and if you're a bit concerned about how you engage, and that's fine. But I strongly encourage, when you feel comfortable, to engage in it, because it makes the session so much better. I'm presenting now just with me speaking, but if we actually had a whole lot of interaction, it helps with variety of voice, different questions, comments, feedback. It's really good to join in activities and make the most. It makes the whole session engaging, not only for you but for the presenter too, to get feedback. All right, so that was the first part of our session. The next part is about, I called it Deskercise, and it's actually a term that came up when I was hosting I called it Time to Relax, and Rebel Black called it Deskercise. I thought, what a fantastic term. So another thing of combining two words together, like I mentioned at the start about webinars. So exercise at your desk. Now, I'm going to be handing this out to everyone who's registered today. So you're going to get this slide and a whole series. So that's awesome that you've joined in. So we've got, I'm going to show you a series. Now, with the exercises, you could do them, you could print them off and just have them at your desk, and you could do them individually. If you're hosting a live webinar, you might use it at the start as a bit of a waiting time while people are getting ready to join in that first 15 minutes. Or you might do it part way through your session. So we're going to have some now. We're going to finish off with some fun Deskercise. So this handout has all these details. What's really important for anyone doing exercises is to know your own personal limits. So you don't do an exercise that hurts you. So if it was about, twisting and turning and you've got a sore back, well, don't do that. Or if you know your shoulder's sore or whatever. So look at that. Also encourage you to drink plenty of water, and I'm going to have a quick sip to wet my whistle, and relax. It's a bit of fun. So with Deskercise. Now here's a nice easy one. And we can often forget about our hands, and I've actually got a few hand exercises with this series that I'm sending out to you. So put your hands in front of you with the palms of your hand facing one another. So two hands out front, palms facing each other, and straighten your fingers and thumbs. So you're really stretching them out, and then slowly make a fist with both hands together, and then uncurl them and stretch them out and bring them in together and stretch them out, bring them together. So keep doing that. So stretching out and in. And so like our body, we're typing a lot, or we're handwriting, particularly people that are studying and say doing, big exams or assignments, and our hands can get tense and stiff. So we can look after our hands as well. And then, curling and flexing them allows your hands to relax and gives you some joint release. Now, I did get this source from a challenge program that I've been involved in. This was back in 2012 when they were talking about 18.5 billion text messages are sent each month. I wouldn't be surprised if that was down to a week or a day now. I think it's really growing. So, so there's one little exercise for making a fist. Another one would require you to stand up for this exercise. So we can be seated for a long time, and it's really important that we actually stand up. And so we want you to stand up with your feet sort of level with your hips, and putting your hands on your hips and swing them as though you're doing a hula hoop. So I'm going, well, it doesn't matter which way, but just go in one direction 10 times as if you're swinging that imaginary hula hoop. And if you're standing in a McDonald's restaurant, people are going to look at you weird if that's where you're connecting in. You might encourage some other people around you to do the same, or if you're in an open office. So, but if you're at home, look, this is something you can do at any time again. And you might have some really fun ways that you've remember doing the hula hoop, and you might type in the text chat some of the ways you do it. I used to love, and I've done it only recently, I used to love putting one around my foot and then running. So I'm spinning with one leg, it'd usually be on my right leg, and then I'd step over it with my left and sort of run with this hula hoop spinning around. Pretty could come a cropper, but anyway, that's a fun one that I used to love. And there's all sorts. I wasn't say fast on my hip. So it's great for stretching down. So you might sit down again and get your blood pumping. It's really good for your body. And 105 hula hoops is our fun fact, that in Jin Linlin of China did 105 hoops. We might need to look online to see how many at once, but 105 at once. How amazing is that? You might have a record. Okay, here's a different one, quite a different exercise, and this time it's for blinking. Now, we did this one at the start of this session before we began, but I'm just going to show you this because I'm possibly going to split the recordings so that we've got just one on relaxing. So, to rest your eyes, and we look so much at screens, whether they be phone screens or computer screens or iPad screens. So I'm going to get you to shut your eyes and hold them closed for 3 seconds. And then we'll open them again for 3 seconds. And then close them again. And then open them. And then close them again. And that's making me feel relaxed. Tricky one if you're tired. You could repeat that 5 times. We're just going to do that 3. Really good. And another really useful tip is to look away from where you're looking at the screen and focus. So if you can look out a window and focus on something, or look across the room, you might turn around and look at a painting. Just change your focus is really good for your eyes as well. So this is a great one to have, printed up in the office, and you can share it with people. Another one is the backward wrist stretch. And this is a bit like a yoga position, or saying namaste if you've travelled through India and Nepal. So to maintain flexibility of the muscles in your forearms, your wrists and your hands, this one's for, place the palm of your hand together at your neck. So around about the height of your neck in front, and it's like you're praying, and then move. So you're keeping your palms together and then move it down. So it's about waist. Now, I certainly feel that in my wrist, on both sides actually, at the bottom and at the top. And you just hold it for 10 seconds. It makes me sit nice and tall too, so that's a good thing. And we might release that. That wasn't quite 10 seconds. I like to shake your hands, shake them out. So you might do that in between, shake them out, and then we'll come together at neck height, move it down to waist height, and hold it there. And then release, shake your hands again, and then we'll go one more time. Hands together at your neck, pushing it down to waist with the palms lined up together. And then release. Fantastic. So, as mentioned, I'll be sending out those goodies to everyone who's registered here for our live session today. And we've got some more upcoming live lunch events. We have on the 29th, we're looking at effective and affordable tools for online meetings. So a mixture of different tools that are out there. Not only we'll look, briefly at webinar tools, but more so at some other resources that you can use for agendas and planning and minutes for people who need to do meetings from a distance, or can't get together. So whether you're in the city or you're in the country areas and you're vastly apart from people, or you might be in different office spaces, or it could be on a voluntary group, I'm going to share some of those in our Live at Lunch on the 29th of June. On the 6th of July, looking at creating fun, short, sharp videos using a free online webinar tool, not this one, but one called Zoom, and then also how you can use it for another tool, a free tool for editing. So you can make little short pieces that could be instructions or fun pieces that you could use on Facebook or in all sorts of ways. So I'm going to show you that on the 6th of July. And on the 13th, we have our webinar programs, which to choose. So I've mentioned quite a few sort of resources in different rooms that you can use. I can't show and compare them all, but I'm going to go through some of the tips of what's useful and what different webinar programs do. So we're in GoToMeeting today. There are quite a number of others, a huge lot. And so I'm going to share some of those that might help with decisions on those. Now, anytime you need to register for the live event, once you are registered for one, you should be receive an automatic email out about the event and where it'll be. If you if you don't want to receive them, you want to stop receiving them, on the email there's a bottom one where you can unsubscribe. So don't feel uncomfortable doing that. That's up to you if you want to engage in, but there will be some information with the upcoming Live at Lunch events. Now, another thing I want to share with everyone is that I've got some courses coming up, and the first one that I'm offering is all about webinar facilitation. It's a short course. This isn't free. It's a fee-paying course, and it's over 4 one-hour live online events. So it's online. You'll have access to recordings. There'll be handouts and bonuses. So there'll be getting things like more tips with the Deskercise, resources that can help you facilitate live online sessions. They're going for 4. There's one across August, the first 4 weeks, from 1 to 2 on Thursdays. And then there'll be an evening course for those people who can't make the daytime from 7 to 8, and that'll be in September. So on the first 4 Tuesdays of September. There's full details about the pricing, about what each session's going to involve. So have a look at that, and it's on our website that is vivianevans.com.au, and it's in the live events. If you drop down and you'll see effective webinar course. Coming up, I'm hoping to do courses on online meetings and generate a course for those, so you can really get to know, engage, but do tasters that are always free on our Live at Lunch. So thank you so much for joining me today, whether it's been right now on our live event, or if you have been watching the recording. So encourage you to come along, check out the website for the live events and for at the Live at Lunch, as well as courses, so that you can really get to engage and learn some more. Terrific. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week.